Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something lots of you have mentioned.
Yeah, that frustration when you upgrade your classic Tamiya buggy like a frog, grasshopper, hornet with a beefier servo, maybe that popular 20-kilogram Animos one.
Exactly. And then snap. You're breaking servo savers or maybe even the horns themselves, right?
All the time. So our mission today is pretty clear. Figure out why this happens and how you can actually solve it for good.
Right. We'll look at, the difference between horns and savers, why the stock parts tend to fail, and what replacements really work. Plus, installation tips.
Okay, first things first. Servo horn versus servo saver. They sound similar, but they're fundamentally different. A horn is just a solid lever. It connects directly, gives you really precise, immediate steering response.
No flex, just pure connection.
Exactly. But a servo saver has a spring mechanism built in. Normally it acts like a horn, but if you hit something hard...
Like a rock or the curb, again.
That spring compresses. It absorbs the shock, protecting the tiny gears inside your servo.
Yeah.
Our classic Tamiya kit. It almost certainly came with some kind of integrated saver.
Okay, that makes sense. And materials matter here too, don't they? Plastic versus aluminum?
Big time. Plastic is, well, lighter, cheaper, and it has some give. Sometimes it can even bend back after a small hit. It's often the designed weak link.
But the stock Tamiya savers, the plastic ones,
Yeah.
maybe not the best for this job.
Generally, no, especially not with a 20-kilogram servo. They tend to flex, develop slot pretty quickly, and their centering can be, let's say, vade.
Right, and aluminum.
Aluminum's the opposite in many ways. Super rigid, so you get very precise steering, much more durable, lasts longer.
That's good so far.
But it's heavier, costs more, and if it bends, it usually stays bent. And here's the crucial bit.
The catch.
If you use a solid aluminum horn with no saver function, all that impact force goes straight into your servo. It's a huge risk, especially for a basher buggy. You could strip servo gears or break other steering parts easily.
So a solid aluminum horn on something like a grasshopper you're jumping, probably not the best idea.
Definitely not recommended. Now let's link this back to why things are breaking. The stock Tamiya savers, like the ones in the grasshopper or hornet kit, maybe part hashtag 50204.
Yeah, those little white ones.
Those use a pretty basic plastic C-spring. They just weren't designed for the kind of load a 20-kilogram servo puts out, plus off-road impacts. They're just inadequate.
And even the Tamiya upgrade, the high-torque servo saver, the black or white one, hashtag 51000 or hashtag 50473.
Better. Definitely an improvement over stock. But they can still wear out. They have metal C-rings inside, right? Well, impacts, dirt, high torque, it can cause those rings to wear down or even dig into the plastic stops over time. You end up with slop and poor centering again, sometimes faster than you'd think, maybe 15, 20 battery packs.
Wow, okay. And it's not just the parts failing on their own, is it? Setup plays a role.
Absolutely critical. Endpoint adjustment or EPA on your radio. If you set it too wide, the servo keeps trying to push the steering past its physical limit.
So the saver is constantly being forced to activate.
Exactly. Even just turning normally, that massively accelerates wear, and it's hard on the servo too.
And simple installation mistakes.
Oh yeah. Using a self-tapping screw on a servo with metal output splines instead of a machine screw, that's a common one. Or cranking down the saver screw too tight so it binds, using the wrong spline adapter so it slips. And just the fundamental issue, a 20-kilogram servo is way stronger than what these vintage parts were ever meant to handle.
Okay, so stock is out. What should people use with that Animos 20-kilogram servo?
Well, the Tamiya high-torque servo saver, the HTSS, is an option. It's better than stock, easy to find, keeps the Tamiya look, and it does come with the 25-tooth adapter you need for the Animos.
But the downsides?
The wear issue we mentioned, it needs careful assembly, maybe occasional cleaning or maintenance. Some people find it a bit stiff, even remove one of the C-rings. And price-wise, maybe $9 to $18. It might not be the absolute best value.
What about other brands? Kimbra comes up a lot.
Yes, Kimbra is highly recommended, specifically the KP201 model. It's a mid-size saver, usually fits the grasshopper hornet well, and crucially, it includes 23, 24, and the 25-tooth adapter. Direct fit for the Animos.
And the benefits?
They're known for being really durable, reliable, much better centering than the Tamiya ones, less prone to wearing out or getting sloppy, and the price is great, usually $6.50 to $10.
The main downside being?
It doesn't look like a Tamiya part, obviously, and sometimes, very occasionally, on some models, you might need to slightly widen a screw hole, but the KP201 is generally a good fit. Performance-wise, many find it superior.
And just to be clear on aluminum horns again.
Max precision, zero slop, the horn itself is basically indestructible. But, and it's a big but, zero servo protection. High risk of breaking your servo. Not for bashers, you'd need a 25T spline version, but honestly, probably best avoided for these buggies.
Okay, so nail this down. For the Animos 20-kilogram servo, you need a 25-tooth spline saver or horn.
Correct, 25T. That's standard for Futaba, Savox, Tamiya servos too.
And the screw.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Animos has metal splines.
Yes, crucial point. Use an M3 machine thread screw, not a self-tapping screw. A standard M3 coarse pitch, 0.5 millimeter pitch is fine.
How long should that screw be?
Depends on the saver or horn thickness, usually somewhere between M3 by 6 millimeters and M3 by 10 millimeters, maybe a bit longer. Check instructions or measure. You want about 4 to 6 millimeters of thread actually engaging inside the servo shaft. M3 by 8 or M3 by 10 is often a good starting point.
Got it. Now, installation for making this last.
Right, setup is key. First, center your servo electronically before putting the saver on. Get it as close to 90 degrees as possible. Then use your radio subtrim for the final tiny adjustment.
Then the critical part, setting the EPAs.
Yes. Turn the wheel on your transmitter slowly left, wash the steering links, stop adjusting the EPA just before anything binds up or the saver starts to visibly compress under normal steering force. Then back it off just a tiny bit.
And do that for both left and right.
Both directions, absolutely. This prevents constantly straining the saver and servo. It's probably the single most important step for longevity.
How tight should the screw holding the saver on be?
Use that M3 machine screw with a small drop of blue thread locking compound. Tighten it until it's snug, but don't gorilla grip it. Over-tightening can make the saver bind and not work smoothly. Some people even back it off maybe an eighth or quarter turn from fully snug. Tested, it should snap back to center crisply, but move smoothly. Oh, and if you use the Tamiya HTSS, don't forget that little plastic washer that goes under the screw head.
And for aluminum horn, if someone does use one.
Definitely tighten that securely with blue thread lock. No need to back it off.
Okay, quick wrap-up then. Stock Tamiya savers. Probably not up to the job with a 20-kilogram servo.
Correct. An upgrade is pretty much necessary.
Solid aluminum horns give precision, but zero protection. Risky for bashing.
Very risky.
The Tamiya HTSS is better than stock, but can wear out and needs careful setup.
It's decent, but maybe not the ultimate solution.
So for a great balance of durability, protection, performance, and value for your vintage Tamiya with that Animos servo, the Kimbrough KP201 really seems like the way to go.
Yeah, that looks like the strongest recommendation based on community experience and, well, the design itself. It just holds up better.
All right. So we spent all this time on what seems like a tiny part, the servo saver. But think about how much it affects the truck's performance, its reliability, how long your servo lasts. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other small, maybe overlooked details in our hobbies or even just everyday life might be holding things back, preventing optimal results without us even realizing it. Maybe digging into the details of even simple systems can sometimes lead to surprisingly big improvements.